Greetings, soldiers and interpreters. I am the Film Cricket, and today I will be giving my review of Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. I don't know why we need to say it's Guy Ritchie's The Covenant, other than it seems to be the easiest way to find this movie in your searches. There are other movies out there called The Covenant. One has to do with like witches or something. This isn't that one. This one's actually good. So, for the rest of this review, I'm just going to call this movie The Covenant, and you intelligent people out there will know exactly what I mean. Before we go too far, and as always, I ask that you like, subscribe, and share this video. Don't forget to ring the notification bell. I don't know if it's really going to let you know when future reviews drop or not. I think it's supposed to, but I don't know. Ring it anyways, or don't. It's up to you, but ring it. The Rotten Tomato reviews are in on this, and this movie's doing great. 83% with critics, 98% with audiences. This makes perfect sense to me. Beyond the fact that it's just a really good movie, the people that are going to see this type of movie are getting exactly what they're looking for. Soldiers, war, action, brotherhood, sacrifice. It's all in there. And while this movie could easily slip into identity politics, it does a great job at avoiding that pitfall, and it just kind of stays a straightforward film. There are a few political issues, but we can touch on those further into this review. You probably notice here that this movie is over 2 hours long. I will say that with the pacing it has, it does not feel like 2 hours at all. There's only one scene where they give like a montage of what has happened earlier in the movie, and that does slow things down a little bit. While it makes sense why this montage is happening, it's really, it could be cut without much loss. And while it would shorten the movie, it really would only shorten it by like a minute or so. So, look, I get why it's there. Leave it there. It makes sense. Also, I think this will be a relatively spoiler-free review. But because there may be some details that I touch on to explain this movie, just know that at this point you're being warned. If you're like, I can know nothing, then I guess go watch the movie and then come watch my review. But this is going to be relatively spoiler-free. You should be okay to keep going. The Covenant is directed by Guy Ritchie. And although there are many great performances in this movie, it really only stars two people. Jake Gyllenhaal plays Master Sergeant Kinley, and Dar Salim plays Ahmed. That's his only name. It's Ahmed. Before I get too much further into this review, I have to 100% give Dar Salim props. I don't know if I'm saying his name right or not. I'm pretty sure that's Dar Salim. But if you're coming to this movie for Jake Gyllenhaal, that's cool. He does a great job. But as both a character and as an actor, this is Dar Salim's movie. You can't help but like him and root for him and his family as this movie progresses. Yeah, he's it for the movie. And I've never seen him, at least to my knowledge, in any other movies, at least not that he's made such an impression. If I have, but I might actually go out and seek him out in other movies based off of his performance here. In case you don't know, The Covenant is set in Afghanistan around 2018. Master Sergeant Kinley is there with his team to find enemy ordnance and other weapons, IEDs, stuff like that. In one of the opening scenes, Kinley's interpreter that he has is actually killed on a mission. And because of this, that's why Ahmed becomes Kinley's new interpreter attached to his team. The main plot of this movie is on another mission where Kinley is injured and Ahmed is forced or winds up, I don't think he's really forced, but he drags, pulls, carries, pushes, and transports Kinley back to safety. Later, when Kinley finds out Ahmed is left behind and is just kind of left to fend for himself in Afghanistan, and he's on the run, Kinley decides to go back and try to get Ahmed out of Afghanistan to safety, and back ultimately to the United States. Which honestly is how this movie is really presented in the trailers, that is what the movie's about. When looking at this movie, it is really broken into three parts. The first part is Kinley and Ahmed getting to know each other, pre-incident and then the incident itself. The second part is Kinley back home after he's been rescued. And the third part is Kinley going back for Ahmed and his family. While the trailers really make you think that the main portion of the movie is Kinley going back for Ahmed, that third part of the movie is actually pretty small compared to the other two. It's actually the first part of the movie that gets the bulk of the runtime. And that makes sense, right? Because it really works hard to show that the relationship between the two individuals means something and how that bond becomes something worth fighting for. When Kinley goes down, Ahmed could easily walk away and be done with him. In fact, it would make the most sense, frankly, for him to do that. But because of reasons you'll find out about in the movie, I think Ahmed decides to stay and help Kinley. I mean, you could chalk it up to their bond too, but I think there's more at play, and the movie kind of gives you what that is. But Ahmed, yeah, he stays and helps Kinley, and that's cool. And through it, there's no doubt that Ahmed is determined to make this save. And Ahmed's determination seems real. He's transporting Kinley pretty far, and I'm not going to say right here and now how far, but he's doing it. He's doing it by himself. And at one point, at one particularly hard point, Ahmed sits by the side of the road and breaks down. And that moment seems real. How can you not have those emotions in his position? In fact, you see that from Kinley earlier in the movie as well, when Kinley's at a particularly hard point. These types of real expression humanize these characters, and that's 100% legit and happens to soldiers in hard times. But like true heroes in their own right, both of those characters get up and push on with the mission that they're on. It's not the breaking down that matters as much. It's because that's, frankly, for both of them, quite short-lived. It's the getting up and getting back to it that matters something. I should also mention that if you're squeamish at all, the part of the movie where they're on the run, and this first part of the movie in general is kind of hard to watch, kind of bloody, kind of gory at times. In fact, there's one part that Kinley and Ahmed are on the run, and they tumble down a hill. That's just painful to watch. It's painful to watch that. You feel every bump they get down that slope. The second part of the movie, Kinley is home, and you get a good look at what is his life and what this war has done to him, particularly what this experience has done to him. I get the feeling that Kinley is a National Guardsman through this portion, although it's never really stated. I guess I could have looked for identifying patches or markers during the movie, but I didn't. What makes me think that he's a National Guardsman is that when he gets back, you see his business that he has back home, and that's where he spends most, if not all, of his time during this second part of the movie, that in his house. And it's possible he's on leave, right? And that's why he's at this side business he has, but you get the impression that this side business is kind of his main business. You get to see his family and the support it takes from them, specifically his wife, during this hard time for him. Also a real thing. I've said before that it's the families that serve as much, if not more, than the soldiers themselves, especially when it comes to a deployment, and you get a lot of that, or a sense of that at least, during this second part of the film. What's frustrating in this part of the movie is Kinley's efforts to get visas for Ahmed and his family, and the red tape and bureaucracy that you're seeing him go through. You get to experience the frustration of hours of being on hold without literally being on hold for hours yourself while Kinley's talking to government agencies. If you ever had to deal with a government agency, this part of the movie really is going to ring true to you. One thing that really struck me during this part of the movie was first world problems versus third world problems, and the two main characters and how they're going through different lives at this point. Kinley's in LA with the frustration of going through the government bureaucracy and his own emotional and mental issues from the incident earlier in the movie, while Ahmed and his family are in hiding in Afghanistan and on the run for their lives. So it's weird. They're both going through struggles, but coming from these two fully different aspects. It's striking in your mind if you really think about it. Now, I'm not putting anything on one being better or worse than the other one. It's just you notice that stark difference. The third part of the movie is what you generally expected. I'm not going to say if Kinley is successful or not, or if he is or is not 100% successful in getting Ahmed and his family out of Afghanistan. What I will say is there are plenty of twists and turns in this part of the movie that does keep you going all the way to the end. You will probably, or no, shouldn't say, let's say you may guess the actual end by the time it gets there. Maybe you won't, but it's the suspense of the situation that's there at the very end. It keeps you going all the way through. It doesn't lag any. I will tell you though, and maybe this is the biggest spoiler I'm going to give you, in that I'm going to tell you what doesn't happen. You do not get a schmaltzy ending with Kinley carrying Ahmed out like Ahmed did for Kinley early in the movie. That would be really dumb. It would be really over the top. They don't do that, thank God. So if you're expecting that, don't expect that. That would be dumb. This movie's better than that. Frankly, if it had happened, I probably would have been upset to watch it. That being said, the only real complaint I have is the Taliban in this movie. While in some ways they do come across as capable villains, in some ways too capable, in other ways they come across as Keystone cops, unable to do anything, and just extremely generic. That's okay. And the balance is done in such a way that it's not too distracting, and you can get through the movie accepting them as bad guys. We know they're really out there. We know that, it's a real issue in the real world, so it's fine. Watch them. It's not going to bother you. The only real political thing in this movie is at the end there was a script over the screen talking about how many interpreters were left behind when we pulled out of Afghanistan. How many of them have been killed when the Taliban took over, and how many are in hiding in real life today. This is then followed up with pictures of real soldiers and their interpreters that they brought these pictures back. If you weren't anxious because of Ahmed not getting out when he should have early on, and how hard it was to try to save him and his family through the movie, this real life wake-up call will probably push you over the edge. It's extremely frustrating, and you can have your own views on it, whatever, that's fine, but it's frustrating to read those words. All in all, I highly recommend this movie. My parents actually went to the theater with me to see this one. My mom in particularly almost never goes to movies, but they both really liked it, and they were glad they saw it in the theater. If it's not in your local theater anymore, you can actually stream this one in the comfort of your own living room. It's my understanding that you can find it on both Vudu and Amazon Prime to rent. However, if you're an Apple person, I'll throw up a slide here about it too. Just punch it up on Apple TV's app and you'll find it for rent. I think I saw it for $20. So there's my review for Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. Like I said, I highly recommend it. Whether it's in the theaters or in your own living room, don't miss this one. As for me, I'll be going back to the theater soon and will report to you what I find. So see you all next time. Thanks. Bye.